What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here, back with JaboctheGreat, and we are back with the last word. At long last, it is finally time to begin the NFL season. Tonight, we got the kickoff game between the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions. Obviously, the Chiefs are the Super Bowl champions for the second time in just a few years, going up against the up and coming Lions. But we're not going to just talk about that game. We're going to give our preview for the entire season, go division by division, talking about what teams will think will be at the top and what teams will think will be at the bottom. So, let's just go ahead and get this thing started with the AFC East. This one's probably going to be pretty controversial. There's a lot of, every team in the AFC East is probably going to be good this year for sure. Um, but I would just go ahead and say, in my opinion, to start off with, I think the Bills will probably still win the division this year. But I think the Dolphins, at most, will be a game or a game and a half or two behind. I think the Dolphins are almost just as good. Jalen Ramsey, of course, is on IR to start the season. But I think with his addition, I think that definitely helps out that defense. That, of course, you got Tyreek Hill back. Again, you got Jalen Waddle, a great receiving core right there, just with the two of them. And Tua hopefully will be able to stay healthy this season. As long as he's fine, I think they'll be good. And I think the Jets as well, with that, that new look team there with all of Aaron Rodgers guys, as well as Aaron Rodgers himself, they'll be right there in the mix of it. So if there's any team or any division, I would say that would have three playoff teams in the AFC besides the North, I think it would be the East with the Bills, Dolphins, and Jets all being able to come out, as well as the Patriots having a good season as well.
Yeah, I think I agree. The Bills probably going to lead this division. I believe that the Dolphins will be probably only a game behind them as well. I think the Dolphins are really close to the Bills. I'm glad that you agree. I thought that was more of a hot take. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just not so hot here. Um, but I think the Jets will probably come in third. The Patriots have done well this offseason, adding in some extra players, kind of building up some of their current legacy players, letting Ramondre Stevenson's really come into his role there and become a big lead back. But they've also added people like Zeke and things like that. So I think that the Patriots will do good. But this is just a hard division to just do good in and make the playoffs. So by maybe Patriot fan standards, this will be probably a disappointing season, but I think that they still could pull out a winning record and just barely miss out on the playoffs. Then we go to the other hard division in the North, or in the AFC. The AFC North is going to be a tough one. I think all four of these teams are posed to look pretty good. They fully healthy at the very least. They have some good looks here. The Steelers maybe being one of the rockier ones because we have a lot of young talent. We're looking to see how it develops. But I think this might be controversial. I think the Ravens could lead this division, followed very very closely by the Bengals. But I just really trust the healthy Ravens team, and I think that the Lamar Jackson Zay Flowers connection is going to be something special. Bengals, of course, right behind them, especially since Joe Burrow is going to be in and healthy. Browns behind them, and the Steelers in fourth. But I feel the same way with the Steelers that I do with the Patriots. I don't think that the Steelers will have a bad season. They haven't had one under Mike Tomlin by those standards.
Right.
But I think they'll probably still end up in fourth.
Yeah, this one's really hard too. I do think the Ravens thing, it seems like a lot of people are high on the Ravens, and rightfully so. Obviously, Lamar, we expect him to be healthy this season after just getting that contract. Not that the two are correlated, but he will be healthy this season. You got that contract. You got LBJ coming back. Hasn't played since the Super Bowl, so it's been a while for him. So yeah, I would. This one's hard. I don't like to count out the Steelers, but offensively, they got some good pieces on offense. George Pickens, he's a good guy, good receiver out there. Kenny Pickett in his second year. Najee Harris, they're hoping he's having a bounce back season, and they're hoping Matt Canada has a bounce back season as offensive coordinator, but we'll see. But yeah, I would say Ravens and Bengals definitely would be the top two teams. Browns got a lot of talent too. It's just I don't know exactly how they'll look. It is really going to be on Deshaun. I know Nick Chubb is back there, and he's going to have a great season unless he gets hurt. But I think it's really going to matter. It's going to be dependent on if Deshaun Watson has a good season or not. He hasn't played a full season since 2020, so you pay him all that money. And I know they've done some jujitsu with the cap and everything, but he's going to have to earn his contract this year for sure. So, yeah, I would say top two teams, I would agree Ravens, Bengals, and then bottom two, Browns, Steelers. Now, moving to the South, this division is really weird. Uh, I would say the Jags just not just because they won last year, but they're the only team that I can really trust right now. Texans and Colts both were not good last season. You can say, Jonathan Taylor obviously didn't have a great season. He was injured last year, and the Texans are just the Texans. But I don't expect them to have a crazy bounce back this year. They'll improve, of course, even if whatever the heck is going on with Jonathan Taylor down in Indy, with that going on, they'll improve with the two talented guys that they have at QB. But I would just go with the Jaguars right now. Um, do I see them going super far in the playoffs? I can't say that for sure, but I definitely have them number one. Um, and then after that, I don't see any other playoff teams in that division.
Yeah, I mean the Titans they add DeAndre Hopkins, but we've seen what happens when good receivers go to Tennessee and older ages. It just doesn't work out very well. The Jaguars may have a tough road ahead of them when they get to the playoffs. I mean they built a really good offense and they got a decently strong defense, but there is like potentially 6 free wins sitting in this division for them to let them coast into the playoffs over the rest of their division. So yeah, I think I would if I had to give all four, I would probably say Jags, Titans, Texans, Colts. I don't know. It's a division that's in a weird state of purgatory as they're all trying to fix themselves. But I think the Jaguars are obviously furthest ahead in that fixing. So no hot takes on this division. I don't think. I think that's a general consensus. AFC West is always a fun division. It's had some changes. We've got some huge coaching personnel on the Denver Broncos now. We've done a QB switch and a few other things in Las Vegas. But I think picking the winner for this division is never super hard. Chiefs will probably come out on top of this division. Travis Kelce is maybe going to miss a game. We don't think any more than that, so that's going to be great for them to stay on track. I think the most interesting thing here is can the Broncos or Chargers fight for a wild card spot in this division? The Chargers I trust to go for a wild card spot right now. The Broncos, based on last year, are a little tough. They have coaching changes. They've added some players, of course. So I don't know. I would put more faith into Chiefs and Chargers being playoff teams in this division if it gets two teams from the AFC West. But I wouldn't count out the Broncos. They had a really good defense last year. They've got a new coach. They're trying to change the culture. I've seen plenty of quotes from Sean Payton the past 2 days that are interesting at best. But I think that there's something happening in Denver, but it's got to happen quick. And otherwise, I think that the Chargers' high-flying offense and pretty sturdy defense is a lock for second place unless the Broncos can pierce through that.
Yeah, I mean, just like we assumed last year, the Broncos would be considerably better with Russell Wilson and getting Daniel Hackett and everything like that. And obviously, didn't turn out well. I think I don't want to say people are overreacting to Sean Payton being there, but I don't think it's not going to be as like big of a difference. I would say, like, I think there needs to be a middle ground with the Broncos. I think people aren't giving them enough credit with Sean Payton being there, but I think people are also just like, oh, Sean Payton's going to completely change it. Like he might. I don't know, but I think this is a little bit. We need to have a little bit more realistic expectations with the Broncos because the coaching job was god awful last year, but the players still had to go out there and play. And that game against the Rams was obviously what got Hackett out of there, but they still had to go out there and play. So yeah, I would still probably put the Broncos just right now at the bottom. I think I'll probably be proven wrong just because of the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton connection there. They'll figure that out. But right now, I'll still put them at the bottom. I'm not saying they'll be bad, but I just can't see it yet. Raiders, Jimmy G is interesting. Uh, obviously, it seems like every time he plays a full season, he gets to the playoffs, gets to the NC Championship. Definitely not going to get to the AFC title game for sure. I don't see that. But with Josh Jacobs back, with Devontae Adams back, even if he's not particularly happy, I think they'll be able to figure some things out. But yeah, I would say right now it'll probably be Chiefs and Chargers at the top. So that is the AFC. Let's go ahead and move over to the NFC, starting with the East, which is Probably going to be a very controversial topic here, but honestly, I think more likely than not, it'll probably just end up exactly the way it was last year as far as standings, with the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders. And I do think the Eagles might take like a slight step back, just because trying to replicate a 14-3 season and going to the Super Bowl, like that's you can't easily replicate that. And the Cowboys may be around the same spot. Giants may get maybe a little bit better because of the moves they've made in the offseason, just getting Isaiah Simmons as well from Arizona. So I think it'll stay the same as far as the rankings, but I think overall the teams will shift just a little bit. But yeah, I think you can still have three playoff teams coming out of the East this year.
Yeah, another really strong division. I think Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders is a pretty solid order. I think there's a lot we've seen from the teams last year and then what they've done in the offseason this year to kind of show that I think that they've all made good movements, but that they're all still kind of around the same level that they were last year in comparison to one another. I like the addition of like Darren Waller to the Giants, but does it do much to move them above the Cowboys? I'm not super sure. Do I think they'll all be like far apart? No. I think again we could have a three-team playoff conference here, but this would be a fun one to watch as it was last year, and it'd be fun to see what if the Commanders make a bigger splash than they did. But I'm not predicting one. So the AFC North is difficult because they're all pretty decent teams. The NFC North is kind of difficult because they're weird. um, they're all in this state of like they're kind of not bad, and then they're sometimes like really great. Personally, I think especially with the removal of Aaron Rodgers and kind of the new stuff going on with the Packers, I don't think the Packers will be a bad team. But I think that the Lions and Vikings are slated to be the top two teams. Now a lot of people have the Lions leading this division. And I don't think that's a bad pick. I think personally, I'm going to say that Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, the new addition of T.J. Hawkinson is gonna be good for them to get in the top of that division. The Vikings defense is atrocious, so that's going to be one thing that could be rough for them. But I'm not sure there's like a defense in this division that I'm super excited to see anyway. So this one's just really weird for me. I'm going to go with Vikings, and then I'll put the Lions again, just a really strong offense with a okay defense in second. And then I don't know, maybe the Bears edge out the Packers. I'm not really confident on that one. I do think the Packers can salvage third place in this division. But I think there's, at least for me, there's two really isolated, fun things in this division where we're going to see, me personally, Vikings and Lions fight for the first spot, and then the Bears and Packers fight to not be last, which can oftentimes be just as entertaining as the top heavy spot. So I don't know, a weird division for me to kind of wrap my head around rapid changes, big changes, especially losing someone like Aaron Rodgers. And the Bears are trying to grow. So I think this one's odd, but I'm going to go Vikings, Lions, Packers, Bears.
Yeah, so that's kind of funny with TJ Hawkinson, how the Lions traded him mid-season to their division rival. I mean, that's you don't really see that too often. Um, but yeah, I think Vikings will take a step back because again, I mean, replicating a 13-4 season, that's not going to be super easy, especially with how they won last year. A lot of their games, they had what 10 games, that were one score. I mean, that Bills game was crazy. So yeah,
Yeah.
obviously replicating that will be difficult. Um, with that being said, I do think the safer pick is probably the Vikings. If the Lions were to win the division, I would say, well, both Lions and Vikings, I would say it would be closer to a 10-11 win season than anything, 12, 13, 14, anything like that. I don't think any of those teams are that good. As you mentioned it too, the Packers and Bears would probably be the bottom two, but Bears are improving. Obviously, they got DJ Moore from us for that first round pick, or that first pick of the draft, I should say, as well as a bunch of other picks. They're preying on our downfall this year. Um, but yeah, the Bears will obviously improve, and they absolutely need Justin Fields to be that guy this year. Now that they built a much better team around him, but I don't think it's gonna be the overnight thing. I think it still takes that defense still has to be good. Justin Fields had good moments throwing the ball last year at times. Definitely was good running. He'll be an improved passer this year as well. So yeah, definitely, I would still say the Packers and Bears will be at the bottom two, but I don't see them being any team in this division being horrible. And speaking of horrible, we can talk about the NFC South from last year. Of course, every team in the division did not have a winning record, especially now with 17 games in the season. You can't be 8-8 anymore. So this one, as much as it really pains me to say this, I have to be objective here, even as a Panther fan. Realistically, the Saints are the best team in the division right now. If we're just being honest, I mean, you look at quarterback. You got Desmond Ritter for the Falcons. Bryce Young is a rookie. I think he'll be great one day, but hard to say right now. And the Panthers aren't really doing them too many favors. And they got injuries as well, so they got things to fix in Carolina and Tampa Bay. I know they still got talent on offense and defense. We don't know what the heck Baker's going to look like. I think the Saints are really just the safest bet in the division right now. I mean, they've got a veteran quarterback in Derek Carr. You can talk about Derek Carr's record in the playoffs and how many times he's made it, but he is the best quarterback in the division as of today. That's without a doubt. Not just talking about potential, but today he is the best quarterback. And they've got guys at receiver. They got guys in the cornerback position, safety position. I mean, they've got guys all over the field there. Alvin Kamara is going to be out for a bit, but yeah, I would say right now the Saints will probably be number one. But after that, I would say Panthers, Falcons, and then Buccaneers.
Yeah, this is a painful division to talk about as a, as a Panthers fan. It is
Yeah,
kind of interesting to see all of us be in this weird wasteland. But my dad is a Saints fan, so I'm sure he's going to enjoy this part of the video. But I am going to have to say that the Saints are probably the best team in the division right now. Their weapons are weird. You have weapons with high potential like Michael Thomas that should have a lot of kind of splash to him, but haven't gotten a lot going. But you also have you have young guys like Chris Olave, who add a lot of depth to a team and can grow in to be a great player. They added Jamal Williams, who should fill in well for Kamara those first few weeks, and then we'll see where it goes after that, what the usage is there. But then the QB situation, definitely the best starter at this current moment. Potential-wise, maybe not, but right now, that's the best guy. So I'm going to say the Saints lead the division. The Panthers and Falcons, I think, are both going to be kind of mid, but I think they're doing a lot to grow. Falcons have added some fun offensive weapons. Panthers have done a lot in the draft to try to work on some of the holes. We finally got rid of Matt Rule, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I think Saints, Panthers, Falcons, and Buccaneers, they're not moving me. So they're going to be fourth. Speaking of not being moved, we're going to go to the NFC West, and there actually is some things that move me in this division. But I'll just go ahead and say that the Cardinals do not. there's not a single thing on the Arizona Cardinals that I am excited to watch or see. They've just announced that Josh Dobbs will be starting for a little bit. It's just a weird team. I'm happy for Josh Dobbs to get some more experience. Had that unfortunate coming in against the Jaguars and letting the Jaguars kind of walk all over him. Played well in that game, but yeah, Cardinals are going to be out of this one. After that, though, the NFC West has three teams that I think are really fun to watch. I think the Niners win this division. That's probably locked up. Probably one of the better teams in the NFL on both sides of the ball. We always have weird, unfortunate things going on in the playoffs. Now we'll get to see Brock Purdy really put to the test. But otherwise, I think the Niners are a pretty strong team. The Seahawks and Rams are both fun, though. There's potential for both of them to move around. There's potential for either one of them to take a wild card spot in that division. And potentially, I mean, if they do well enough in the NFC, this could be a three-team playoff division if the NFC East doesn't pan out the right way. So I don't know. I'm going to say Niners. Seahawks and Rams are really, really close to me. I like what both of them have. I think there's potential for both. The Cooper Cup situation will be one to watch, but even if he's out, I don't think it'll be long enough to be super detrimental to their overall record, but maybe detrimental to a divisional stance. I don't know. I'm going to say Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals, but I wouldn't be upset if someone said Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals. So really, I wouldn't be upset as long as the Cardinals are at the bottom of this division. Otherwise, I think that is delusion.
yeah, I didn't realize how bad the Cardinals were last year until I looked at the records. Because I mean, we really just didn't talk too much about them. But yeah, obviously everybody thinks they're going to be god awful this year. I mean, obviously Kyler is still injured. It's pretty much everybody saying, hey, it's going to be Caleb Williams, number one to Arizona. I love to see how they'll figure that thing out with Kyler with that contract and trading that if that's the direction they're going.
Yeah.
Um, but obviously they got D Hop, he's gone. Isaiah Simmons, I just mentioned, he's not there anymore. So new head coach coming over from the Eagles, but yeah, that's not going to be a good situation down there. So yeah, if they're picking number one, not really going to be surprised. Rams, I would like to believe that they're going to be good. Um, Obviously, injuries last year derailed them, and Cooper Cup is going to be out, to start. But I do think they'll improve because they still got a lot of talent on that roster. But I would say the Seahawks, and that receiving core for the Seahawks, that trio that they have with the rookie Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, you got DK Metcalf and then Tyler Lockett. I mean, that's a pretty good trio there. I mean, there's not too many that are better in the NFL. So even though they might be kind of underrated, and I know Jackson is just a rookie, but I think they'll be pretty good once the season starts and once you get into the flow of things. But yeah, I agree. To top it off, the 49ers should win this division. I mean, they just got the most talent. They just paid Nick Bosa like 170 million yesterday. So they got that figured out just in time for the season to start, of course. I think the Chiefs probably wish Chris Jones was there, but unfortunately for him, he's not. But the 49ers, they got their big defensive stalwart on the defensive line. So, yeah, I would agree. Um, do I think Brock Purdy is going to go undefeated and win MVP? No, but I do think it wasn't a fluke. I don't think he'll be like top three, but I don't think you can play that good and that consistently for that long and it just be a complete fluke. I don't think he'll just fall down from earth and be complete trash this year. Um, and that's the thing with the 49ers and with that offense, as long as you got a quarterback that's not making mistakes, he's able to get the ball to the guys that they need to, you should be fine. So I don't know how good the Niners will be this year. I just have to see with how they play the first few weeks with Brock being the full-time starter now. But yeah, I definitely would agree. Niners, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals in this division as well.